the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Stoned Appetit. We're right in the heart of March Madness as the round one has completed and we dive into round two this week. We've got a great episode for you. We'll talk restaurants that may have been omitted. We'll talk a little bit about what we did in the week before. I may have pissed off the DJ community as well as those that enjoy mediocre food. Chris ate really well. And Buc-ee's is brand new to Colorado. That and a little bit more, including a wake and bake special and maybe a little watch party on Friday. But before we dive into that, let's give a shout out to our friends at, that's right, Chris, Seed Money Consulting. Seed Money Consulting is a one-stop shop, whether you are a small business owner, a small to medium business owner, or you're just a 1099 or a regular Joe walking down the street. They help you with those that maybe have interesting tax situations, whether you started a business, closed a business, maybe you changed companies, maybe you work in the cannabis space. No matter the situation, they're there to assist. They are Colorado local. They have experience working in the cannabis space. They have experience working with the restaurant industry. If you are a content creator, no matter those weird, complex issues, do not leave money on the table. Our friends Sam and Shahib and the family over at Seed Money Consulting, they're based right here in Colorado, so they know the tax codes of the locals, but at the same time, they can help no matter if you're listening to this from New York to Brazil, Portugal to California. They're here to assist. That's Seed Money Consulting. If you don't know how to use Google, just press the button upstairs. Chris will come back there with a tack hammer and we'll get that all figured out. But otherwise, reach out to our friends at Seed Money Consulting. They're great people. We've been working with them for 2 years, and that's the reason we are stoked about working with them in a sponsorship position, especially as tax season is coming to a close and for those that may be filing for extensions. All right, let's dive into it. First things first, when are we doing our fucking road trip to Buc-ee's? Eve, we're looking at you because we're going to need a DD. But we could literally go up there next Monday after work. Or we could go up on a Sunday fun day. I think Monday's better because basketball tournament's going on. So Monday would be a great time for us to do this episode in Jonestown. That's where it is.
Not where. Yeah.
It's either that or Jamestown. One of them had electric Kool-Aid. The other one has very mediocre barbecue.
I heard the Kool-Aid was
served
good.
as a friendly location. Either way, we're doing an episode up there, and I think we're going to use the Buc-ee's draft. It'll be our draft for April, where all three of us get an allotted amount of money, and we see who comes back with the best spread. So some people's draft may only have 3 things because they bought a lawnmower. Other folks may have 8 because they bought cheese sticks and barbecue.
You can bring souvenirs into the mix.
Oh, fuck yeah. If you don't think I'm getting those
Keychains.
Cotton Sophie shorts, you are mistaken, Christopher. I'm coming home with a lot of Buc-ee's merch that is plastered right there on my thin ass. I'm excited.
I'm going to get a keychain with Eve's name on it.
Good luck. I can never find my name on those.
Same.
I'm not even kidding.
Look, same.
Good luck.
We'll get them
I'm
custom
very
made. They
surprised you
probably
can't
have.
find those in the South because, you know, the whole dinosaurs aren't real, Adam and Eve thing.
Right. Well, maybe in the South, but I've looked pretty much everywhere I've gone. It's always like Eva, Evelyn. Fuck
Yeah,
Eve, I guess.
Eva's a
Fuck
big
the
one.
Bible. Who gives a shit?
See, I was in the
Right?
same, I had no chance. Kendall and Kip.
I feel like I've seen Kendall.
Really?
Did you look in the girls section?
Like the pink ones with like
Yeah.
really, I mean,
Sparkly pink
but when they
ones.
did them by state, like with the little insignia, like you scroll through all the letters and it
Yeah.
goes, and there was never either of those.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and that one's a pretty southernish name. I mean, Chris
Is it?
obviously has a layup.
Yeah, mine's pretty easy.
Yeah, but at the same time, all of Chris's friends from growing up have the fucking hardest names in the world, so the irony there is overwhelming. You can find a lot of interesting names in the South. All right, so we're doing Buc-ee's next Monday. We all meet here after work. We go up there. Eve bills us for the travel time. We'll take Chris's badass car. She can drive us home. I'll bring schnapps.
I'll bill for gas.
Oh yeah, the best part about Buc-ee's, it's the cheapest gas around, Chris.
It better
have to
be
get
if they
gas
have
there.
140 fucking units out
And
there.
I think I may have misspoke. I think it's only cars. They don't allow trucks. So we may not be able to find any lot lizards to interview. We may just be going raw dog, just us three.
Car episode.
Eve is very pissed about the car episode. As a producer that has to listen to the background noise, I get it. That's fair. Let's dive into what the people are listening to this podcast for, and it's because we chose 68 restaurants that seem more affluent than not. We've caught a lot of guff about not getting some of the off the beaten paths, but we've now whittled that motherfucker down to 32, Chris. And while we aren't necessarily to say who's in the 32, people aren't excited about it.
I mean, tough.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about the round of 64. I think one that was the most contentious, there was two matchups that were literally down to the last minutes. One of them was AJ's Barbecue beat Spuntino. Out of 1,200 votes, they won by one fucking vote. One vote.
Cue that Trump phone call where he's like, if we could just find one more vote.
They're like, sir, you need 60,000. But at the same time, Spuntino is fucking immaculate Indian, Italian kind of influenced restaurant. But AJ's pulled it out right there. And I was like literally watching it as it goes. And then when it fell off our story, I was like, all right, let's go see what the score was. And it still shows 50-50, but it was literally one fucking vote. I was in awe.
And, I think AJ's could have gotten a little bump from the recognition earlier this year.
Yeah,
maybe more of the community was in tune. But, yeah, I mean, they're both great options. And Spuntino is really cool.
They're one of two barbecue restaurants that made it through. And to be honest, they had a really, a tough matchup with a very popular restaurant in Spuntino. But at the same time, yeah, they're powering on. They have a little bit of a fucking headache in front of them with Poulette Bake Shop. I mean, Carolyn and Alan, that's a well-oiled machine down there. That's like Yukon or a Duke or a North Carolina. They're a doozy. The other very contentious matchup from round one, Chris, I went to sleep. I'm a drinker, so I fell asleep very easily, but at whatever time. Black Box Bakery, our friends Chef Ty, Ariel, the whole team over there, they were up 52-48, well over 1,000 votes, which means that's got to be about 100 votes would be 2%. I think is that how the math works out. Eve is our mathematician, so we'll double check. I wake up at 6:30. I don't like to sleep very long. It had literally flipped the script. I don't know what the Easy Vegan team did, but it may be like what Jeremy said on Thursday. They weaponized that social media audience because I feel like they had like an influx of 200 votes because it flipped 48-52 and I was just like, holy shit. So when they get everybody active, you should be careful because they can make a deep little cut run here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that one was a fun one that I was watching.
Did you lose any of your final four?
I can't remember what I had said. I'll have to look back.
I'm a little surprised with some of those. Like I knew people like Beckon and Bruto would be fucked because they only serve 10 people at a time. So you can only reach so much of an audience. I don't think I'm very confident. From the early voting, I'm not sure if my votes are going to go the way I hope it will. And I won't tip hands because I've seen the results, but I'm not seeing the turnout that I was hoping for. And I'm a little worried about my Final Four predictions, but it should be a fucking doozy. Any surprises that you're in there, Chris?
I mean, I don't know. I thought, both Molotov and Misfit didn't advance. And I kind of thought like maybe Molotov
had gotten the war. I mean, if the Washington Post and the New York Times definitely get it, but they're in that kind of same vein as Bruto and Beckon. Like they can't only seat so many.
Right.
But if y'all have not eaten there, it's located right there in the former To The Wind Bistro, right next to Bluebird almost. It's fucking excellent Eastern European cuisine.
And
like, Bo
yeah, and
is so goddamn
no
creative.
shame toward Adelita's because it's great.
No.
I mean, they've got exceptional tequila.
Yeah, and wonderful pozole, tacos are bangers, and it's a South Broadway staple, especially when we talk about a lot of these restaurants here are a little bit more high profile, which we get, a little more social media flair. And Molotov would kind of be in that camp of people that know them through some sexy photos. But Adelita's just plays fucking banger hits over there. So I'm not surprised. And it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a Star Kitchen run. You know, like Star Kitchen, I don't know if their social media presence is real at all, but folks know that their dim sum's a banger, you know?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. One thing I was eyeing up a little bit in where we are now and what could potentially happen is Kelly Whitaker versus Kelly Whitaker, i.e. hospitality. I don't know how things have to break exactly. I think we have to see a little bit of action, but Hey Kiddo is up against Jan Wonton and Wolf's Taylor is up against Sunday Vinyl. All four of those are like star-studded locations in this community, but it could be a Kelly versus Kelly situation if they really weaponize the social media. It's going to be interesting, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like once you get in to that Sweet 16, it's real nice.
Yeah, it's real choice. And at the same time, you know, like one thing I find, obviously the Easy Vegan, as we spoke of earlier, but Somebody People also was able to kind of do something in that same vein of like, they're very passionate about, you know, like they protect their own. It's very wolf packish. And so if you can weaponize, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 folks, you can beat anybody. And I think we saw Poulette made that run last year being relatively unknown. And then this year now everyone's kind of starting to catch wind. And so if they can weaponize it properly, they can make a deep run as well. But we have a lot of fun action ahead. This week's going to be a fucking doozy. On Thursday, we've got an interview with our buddy Max from Dialed In Gummies. We'll talk about what else they have going on besides sponsoring our badass tournament. But at the same time, they're sponsoring this podcast as well. Before we dive any further into tonight's episode, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Dialed In. As y'all will hear on Thursday, there's rumors swirling, but they're staying put. They're killing it. They're right here, and they're unveiling new partnerships by the week. Dialed In THC liquid. You can add it to syrups. You can add it to soups. You can add it to any cuisine, savory or sweet. That's the same for the edibles. Chris, you've always been a long-standing medical patient, but at the same time, those recreationals for the casual consumer hit brutally hard. They're unbelievably reliable. And the partnerships and the companies they work with are just second to none. So if you're looking for a quality, reliable edible, reach out to our friends at Dialed In. You can find them at Starbuds, Emerald Fields, Standing Akimbo, and beyond. All right, best thing you ate last week. I know you had a pretty big fucking week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my Sunday afternoon meal. I was checking out a food truck, and honestly, it was fantastic. It was a Cirque, and they had this like sous vide short rib that they did with these fingerling potatoes and a little.
This is a food truck doing this?
Yeah, a little bit of quinoa salad, and then this nice chimichurri over it, which was fantastic. But they did these homemade tater tots as well as a little side dish. And they just take it's like Paul Robichon's mashed potatoes recipe.
Oh, where he does the ricer and it's just a creme.
Oh my God. Like they're not like crispy and textury like traditional, you know, just run of the mill tater tot is, which we love. But these ones are like just kind of like almost like a mashed potato ball. It is so damn good. So that's got to be the best thing I ate. And I want to say also, I looked in on my mispronunciation last week.
Oh yeah, you got eviscerated for the latke.
So
what'd you call it originally?
I think I said latke. No. So, anyways, to right the wrong, I now know the pronunciation. Latka.
Yeah, thank y'all for keeping Chris in tow. I don't actually listen to any of y'all's, when I mispronounce it, I just burn those little notes. But I'm glad that you're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to learn it and I'm going to fix it, correct it.
Now we all know.
Chris got eviscerated in the DMs for not being able to pronunciate.
Honest mistake.
Latka, latke, whatever it may be. Okay, so I have an umbrage with Popeyes. Fuck their app. I think I'm going on a hiatus from Popeyes. I'm going to go local.
Well, did you not have funds in your account? And then...
I did. I still do. And every time I try to put an order in, they will not accept the Popeyes bucks that I have. So I was like, will you put them on a card or something that I can type in the number? And it's just like I would have expected from New Orleans, like you get what you get. And I'm like, that is not fair. We're talking to customer service reps. if a restaurateur says that to me, I get it. I'm not going to pick a fight and be like, they gave me coleslaw, not mashed potatoes. But I haven't even been able to spend the fucking money yet.
How many Popeyes bucks do you have?
Rewards points, I have like 12,000.
What does that get you?
I think a biscuit's like 250 points. So I think it's
A
like,
lot.
I've spent 126 bucks over whatever through the app. I think is how it would equate. But either way, those points will be accruing interest because I'm on a sabbatical now. I'm going only local chicken. I'm going to find one that has an appropriate amount of spice, and I'm going to enjoy that one. I'm standing beside Eve. Eve, I'm doing this for you.
No, you're not. But
No, I'm not doing
that's
this for
okay.
you. But yeah, we need a good fried chicken spot. Our DMs are open. Okay, so Chris, I had a kick-ass pizza this weekend. I got to say it.
Where at?
715 Club. We've had it before.
Yeah.
It's the original Jay's. It's like a New Haven-ish styled slice. The ingredients go just near the crust. There's a good undercarriage on it. Almost not cornmeal, but like it's got a little bit of a charcoal browning color to it, so that it like slid off the pan. It had a little bit of that smoke and fire to it.
They're substantial pies.
The pies are fucking big. It was great. But I accidentally kicked a hornet's nest this weekend because I went to go to Yardbird for a birthday. And I wouldn't be mad about the fact that Yardbird's food is mid as fuck, but for months we saw people saying you need to go to Yardbird for what this reason or another. If you're not going to Yardbird to like hit on someone of the opposite, like sex, there's no reason to be there. And then to be honest, the place is 25% full. Like they've just missed the boat entirely. The food is mid as fuck. They have this little DJ in the corner sitting there playing fucking Whitney Houston remixes over and over. I think I heard 10 Mariah Careys as well. But it's just like one bite was crispy, one bite was soggy, as if like they had been sitting in that sauce waiting to go under the heat lamp and then served to a table. And I'm sure that they actually fried it and then tossed it, but it misses. And then the fact that their entrees are non-chicken pieces for a place called Yardbird, and everything's just mid as fuck. Like, but the cocktails were delicious and they flowed beautifully.
But it's just like a restaurant space, and they just have a DJ.
Yeah, it's just like one of those rhinos that reminds you of, it's like an STK for chicken,
Yeah.
would be the best way to describe it. Or one of those same vein, like Bao Brew House. And that's what everybody was saying. They were like, which one was it? And then everybody had a different spot for it. It's like, they're all the same. It's like we're masquerading quality or mediocre food and by having a cool vibe or trying to attract someone that doesn't give a shit about the food.
Is there
Oh
like
my God, it's bad.
Is there like a little spot, like a dance spot, or is it just?
I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's also a big ass fucking like restaurant banquet hall that's empty as can be. And I'm sure other restaurants do great with it, but at the same time, it's like, they hired a fucking DJ just to work here, just to mask the fact that we're eating mediocre food. And so that was disappointing. And the fact that we had like 150, 300 fucking replies, and everybody had like, oh, this has to be that, this has to be this. So I was like, okay, so we have apparently a lot of these in town. And it turns out we do, yeah. It's a lot of happy campers. Pardon the pun. Okay, before we get out of here, we have a hard stop. I'm too old for St. Patrick's Day. Yesterday was rough.
Was Yardbird Saturday night or Friday night?
Yardbird was Friday, which was probably one of the problems was that I parlayed Friday into Saturday night. That was a late sesh. Sunday sucked. And that was the real day. The parade went down, family friendly, which was not where I needed to be anyway, but at the same time, I'm not 30 anymore. I feel closer to your age than I do to people my own age, Chris.
That checks out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I remember I saw a picture of us back in the day when we used to go to like the South Pearl St. Patty's Day, like back like when we first came out here. You don't remember the South Pearl St. Patty's Day parade? They used to always have like two big stages. But anyways, I was thinking about that, and like I haven't been out on like a crazy St. Patrick's Day in a very long time.
I don't know if is it in the same pantheon as New Year's Eve or July 4th of people over consuming and then or Cinco de Mayo, like where do we rank those? Like the fake or the American, we pretend Cinco de Mayo means something here, but I don't think actual Mexicans do. And then while the Irish and everyone around the world does St. Patrick's Day, like where do we rank those days in party days?
I mean, St. Patrick's Day is
It's up there. I mean, we're not
It's a good
Chicago,
one.
we're not Boston. I mean, you grew up in the Northeast, Eve. What did y'all do on St. Patrick's Day?
I mean,
Like lynch a Scots?
I moved out by the time I could drink, so I don't know. But I just feel like St. Patty's Day is always full everywhere.
yeah.
And I never bothered in Los Angeles because even when I tried to go early one year, I had no work and the bar was already like packed at 2 p.m. So I just like didn't go in. So I just think St. Patty's Day is just like such a broad, everyone just goes, especially alcoholics. So they're like, yeah. And then, so I think it's St. Patty's Day, New Year's Eve, Cinco de Mayo, 4th of July. Or maybe those last two can be switched. But
So
I'm
you
saying
hate
for, like,
America?
No. I'm saying for like
kidding.
partying wise, and like the bars aren't necessarily full on 4th of July, but like St. Patty's Day, like I don't even bother.
Yeah.
I really don't, because I'm just like, they're just gonna be packed, and I don't need to drink a green beer, you know.
That's actually a really good point because like July 4th is like a grill and chill, like, or
Yeah, it's
you're
usually
out
an outdoor
doing
hang.
stuff. Yeah, because everyone has that off work. No one's like, oh, we respect the Irish here. So it's like you got to capitalize on the day that your city calls it. So that's a good point. And it is very bar centric because it's not like we're sitting upstairs with Jameson or Tullamore Dew. Shout out to our friends at Mr. B's. We're just not like that's not a thing. But I think my dad was even partying on Saturday, and he's
Yeah.
like he's your age, Chris.
I did see when I was driving around Sunday, I did see quite a bit of like older people celebrating. Had green shit, had the hats, had the everything.
And it's like
Now-
an all day thing. Like
Yeah.
New Year's Eve is like at night.
That's true.
St. Patty's Day, I feel like people probably go out for brunch too and do,
Yeah.
you know.
You started
Anyone
early.
can hit it at any time they want.
Yeah.
But it's just.
Did you
I think you
ever
will
have?
now. That's a good call because I wouldn't have had it as high. And Cinco de Mayo is obviously the lowest because it's day centric. Like St. Patty's Day, people will be like, "We're partying this Saturday." Like Chicago, they're like, "We're dying it week before, week after, whatever." But
Did the green flannels come out in Maine? No.
no, JanSport had that deep forest green that you could just blend in. Oh wait, no shit, LL Bean.
Oh.
God damn it. Okay, so last things that we have for today's episode. We have a kick-ass episode this Thursday, but we also have another Wake and Bake special coming up. The last one we did with Rosenberg's and Open. We're doing another one, this time with Dialed In and Black Box Bakery. We've teased it a couple times, but now we're stoked to tell everyone about it. And then we're doing a little March Madness watch party. Seeing as spring is sprung, weather's supposed to be prime this weekend. Chris, we're in the same bracket, our same region of the actual March Madness bracket.
I know.
If we beat North Carolina, I'm going to fuck you right in the mouth. Keep that in.
Yikes.
Yeah, just want to get ahead of that.
Okay. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Sweet. So, and then last thing of the week. Sorry, I was hoping that you would kind of give a little feedback, but it's all right. I'll carry this
Well,
one.
I just don't
No,
want.
it's all
I
right.
mean,
It's all
what
right.
am I going to say?
I
If
feel like
you-
Atlas right here. I'm just
if
holding
you-
the whole episode up here on my back.
If you actually believe that Mississippi State can beat UNC, then
What are you going to do to him if you win? You
Calm
gotta do
down,
something-
E.
I'm just saying.
Fucking weirdo.
You're the fucking weirdo. He's going to do that to you. What are you going to do to him?
send him a Venmo request.
That's fair. That's fair. And then last but not least, things from around the community. 2 people died in one of the hotels in a double murder over the weekend from the unhoused population that are being put up, courtesy of Mr. Mayor Mike Johnson. So we're curious to hear a little bit more details on that. Chris, your thoughts?
I mean, obviously I don't want this to turn into something where people just shout out like, oh, it's all criminals and things like that. I think this could really potentially blow up things depending on the situation. But, I don't think you can say it were migrants or it was like homeless population. I don't know.
It was the homeless
details.
population, I
Yeah.
believe. It was not of any consequence from those that have come here by bus. There's been zero
Right.
indication that any of this has been other than drug-related situations. So I feel like when we put those two things in the same conversation, we're doing a disservice to those that literally traveled thousands of miles with their families on
Yeah.
their back and are just looking to do better by their family. And I think we could all kind of empathize with that and be able to separate the two, because I
Right,
feel
but you know
some are
people-
not, I know, some are not doing that on the internet, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I also like throwing you these hard questions and giving myself the softballs, so that's why I gave that one to you.
But also, like that goes to just the whole kind of problem with this situation is, number one, people don't want those tiny home communities near their properties. Number two, there's got to be like accountability. If you're going to house the homeless population, then they need to, you got to have goals. You got to start meeting things. Like you need to do either get work, do something like that. It's supposed to provide a support structure to help you,
Get out of where you were.
right.
Just
And
by-
so in order to do that though, there's got to be some kind of accountability. And, frankly, like if they're just keeping them in hotels, and I don't know what the rules and stipulations are, but then you're going to have bad apples that are these,
Situations
you know what
occur.
I'm saying? So I don't know what they're doing.
And agreed, like it's not as simple as sitting here talking on the podcast and having a final answer that would solve everything. I think, folks, we've heard podcasts about LA trying to get their ducks in a row before the Olympics in 5 years, and it's like, it's not a short-term fix. It's a large, not only epidemic, but also at the same time, like a situation of how do we address the root of the issue, which may end up being something like fucking healthcare, just
Right.
being approachable and available to everybody, like rehabilitation, as well as, I just came back from Portugal where we saw that safe injection sites paired with proper programs to help you get you out of those situations did in fact work, which is why they decriminalized all of these drugs. But with our commercialized healthcare system, that may be one of the root issues, but at the same time, it's causing a serious pain in the neck, not only for the mayor, but for small businesses that are being plagued by this. And we talk about it every week,
Right.
but we have to talk about it every week, because if we're going to sit here and be a Denver food podcast or a Denver small business podcast and not talk about the fact that a lot of these folks are being hindered by the situation that's going on in the streets outside of their business, then we would be doing a disservice to the actual small businesses themselves. And then once we see things kind of shift into what we thought was going to be a positive, it seems that maybe there are no checks and balances or actual systems in place. It's kind of a free-for-all, and it's a cause for concern.
I feel like
Every week I have a new story for us,
Well,
and I don't want us to have those.
one of the biggest things too, and now I think we as a country have almost completely screwed ourselves with the safe injection and things like that, just because of how bad it's worked in Portland. And I think the problems that we face with these types of situations is we put a plan in place, but we don't have the resources ready and available. So like, we make this thing like, oh, we're going to build tiny housing community. Well, where are all the resources that you're going to have to support the people? And it's just like with the safe injection, with those things, if you don't have the resources and support structure set up, it's going to fail and it's not going to work properly. And that's one thing I don't understand. I don't know whether it's just like, hey, we want to be quick to get something out there and say we're doing something, or whether they just don't really fully consider.
I think it's a combination of the both. They kind of like rush to get something on the plate rather than making sure that it's properly cooked, because the community down kind of near Overland, they voted overwhelmingly in the opposite direction of allowing this type of situation to unfold in their area. And it wasn't because they were just being hateful. It wasn't just like rhetoric that was like disseminated through fucking GOP policies, because we know that they're just animals. But it was oh, you don't actually have a plan here. Like there is no rational thought. We're spending and we're just throwing shit at the wall. But you can't throw shit at the wall when other folks' livelihood is on the wall already.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the difficult process. But I mean, we'll continue to cover it. I think, we're doing a lot to help. We see folks like Reunion Bread did a fundraiser last week to help the unhoused population that are migrants that came to America. And you're not going to hear me yell one time about those folks that are out there just asking for work. Like as
Yeah.
soon as spring comes, we will be hiring someone to come fucking just mow the studio's lawn. Like at the same time, how can we help? That we would love to, but we understand that everyone's kind of getting lumped into the same bag and they shouldn't. All right, that's about it. Until next episode, stay high, stay hungry.
Bucky's.
Happy spring.
Cheers.
Cheers.